Hello, and welcome to the Village Council meeting for Monday, April the 6th, 2026. Judy, if you could call the roll.
DeVore Leonard.
Here.
Shu.
Here.
Samari.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
We're expecting Brown at any moment. Also present is Solicitor Amy Blankenship, Tiffany Heiser from Shared Resources, and Finance Director Michelle Robinson.
Okay. First thing up is executive session, so I'll ask for a motion to enter executive session under Revised Code Section 121.22 G1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee, and Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
So moved.
Second.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Samari.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now going into executive session, and we're going to do two, are we off? Okay, hello and welcome back to the Monday, April 6th Village Council meeting. We just finished executive session and we need to do something to get out of it.
Well, you did that, but you're now going
Okay.
to motion to enter regular session.
That, can someone give a motion to enter regular session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, next up on the agenda is announcements. Are there any announcements that anyone has?
I just want to mention, Carmen and I went to the Greene County Food Council. And I'm kind of just saying this so other people hear this, they could really use, some people at the table, if people are interested in joining something. They have a really great mission. They have funds, to do stuff with. So if you want to help make some things happen in the food security part of Greene County, then it'd be nice if people looked into that. They were really short on just having members there. They were very happy to have us there. So.
I don't want to put this on you, but is it, if people have interest or questions, can they reach out to
Sure.
one or both
One of
of
us,
you?
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It's housed within the Greene County Combined Health District, there's Five Rivers Health District, and what they're working on is food security, getting a more robust food directory together, also working on projects possibly with the 4-H kids.
They had plenty of funds right now, like looking for food banks to purchase refrigeration for
They have
and things like that. So
and
yeah,
freezers.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, thank you. Other announcements? You want to do a big trash day? Big trash week announcement?
I don't know which one it
What's the official term for it?
is. Spring
Put all
cleaning.
your
Spring
junk out.
clean, yes.
Yeah, spring cleaning.
That.
Has it
Big
been
trash.
announced?
Yeah, it was, I think it's the
First week in
I
May.
think it's the first week in May, right? Okay, announcement. First week in May, spring cleanup / big trash day, whatever you call it. Okay. And then because I don't know where else to do it, I guess I'm just gonna check in here. So I assume everybody here is aware that there's a meeting called for tonight that's after this meeting. And I just wanted to check in about, can we go and/or talk at said meeting? So there's issues with numbers of council members that are allowed to be at a meeting. This is a meeting at the firehouse that was called. And so I just know there were enough people talking about it. So Judy and/or Amy or anybody, can you say, do we need to talk about it, or can people just go if they want to?
So, given the circumstances, I would say that if more than 2 of you go, you do not speak. None of you, not any of you. If 2 of you or fewer go, you can attempt to speak. I don't know how far you'll get, but good luck to you on that. That's more than 2 of you? No. No designating 2 of you, no speaking. That is my 2 cents. Amy may have a less conservative approach.
Amy, do you have a less
Listen to me,
conservative approach?
Because I live here.
Right.
So the concern, of course, is that if a majority of the board is in the same place and discussing or deliberating public business, that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act because it wasn't advertised and isn't being held as a village meeting. So if 3 or more of you find yourselves there, it is best practice to avoid discussing or deliberating anything related to the public business of the village.
Okay.
Was that less conservative? I don't know.
Sounds the same.
A little bit less conservative. I saw a loophole.
So I do have,
I did not leave you a loophole.
yeah, no, not at all.
So,
I have a completely unrelated and lighter announcement that I forgot to, I should probably say it. So we're doing the America 250 Speaker Series. It's been on our social media. It's been in the newspaper. So on the 11th, which is Saturday at 7 p.m. in the Great Room at the Senior Center, we're going to have Jeremy Turner. He's the vice president of Caesar Ford Theater, cultural educator, storyteller, He is Shawnee. He's going to talk about the relationship between the Little Miami River and Shawnee. So relationship not confined to the past, but something that is still alive and insistent. Because we relegate these people and places to the past, and that's not what we should do anymore. And it's part of the reason why PACC wanted to bring these kind of undertold stories into our speaker series. So let's see here. Oh, also, the program will conclude with a screening of the trailer of Stomping Freedom, which is a production by Kane Stratton. He's the Caesars Ford playwright and project manager. So we're going to be a screening of the trailer, not the movie. That's going to be May 27th, and there'll be more publicity around that. But if you are free and available at 7 on Saturday, it's going to be really educational, very special conversation taking place. So I wanted to get that out there.
Cool, thanks, Carmen.
Carmen, do you want to talk about community gardens?
Yeah, that's another thing, huh? How about that? We have opened up the lottery for the community garden on Corey Street only. That site is finished. There are 12 plots, and we're opening up a lottery because there's been a lot of interest. And so if you have gardened there before and you want to garden there again, we're going to just level the playing field and do a lottery. And is that going to YSO.
Yes.
Info at
info@yso.org.
Yellowsprings.gov.
Yellow Springs. You look, somebody else do that part. But yeah, so, and that lottery started, when did we said today to when?
I don't know.
The 20th,
Thank you, look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Thank
20th.
you.
So
and then
glad.
drawing on the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So send an email to info@yso.gov.
info@yellowsprings.gov.
info@yellowsprings.gov, or when in doubt, it sounds like call Judy. Right?
Email me, or you can just email me.
I don't, is there someone else that?
No, just email me.
Okay.
Carmen, email Carmen.
Cool, okay.
Or, no, Corey Street only.
Okay, any other announcements? All right. Next up is the consent agenda. If I can get a motion to pass the minutes for March 16th.
So moved. I move that we pass those minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Okay, the next thing is the review of the agenda. So this is the time where if there are any changes to the agenda or additions, let us know. I do want to just note, this will be the first meeting where we do citizen concerns before hearings and legislation. So, and then there are no public hearings on any of the resolutions. So this is kind of like a speak now or forever hold your peace situation at the citizen concerns. And then I just want to make sure folks are aware that the new business discussion about the topics, we're not going to decide about the economic development role or about the status of residential sidewalks or about parking expansion proposals. This meeting is just what input do council members need for when we are going to have those discussions in the coming weeks or months. So just so folks have some awareness, that's what's happening. Okay, anything on review of agenda? All right, moving on to petitions and communications. Angie, if you don't mind.
We have from Gavin DeVore Leonard regarding final Antioch grant support letter, and from Marcia Walgren regarding Vernay property.
Great. Okay, and now we are at citizen concerns. I got to pull out my trusty sheet. This is all written down on the way in, but citizen concerns are set aside on a piece of paper that's on the way in. Citizen concerns are set aside as a place for citizen comment on anything you wish to share for council consideration. If your comments are regarding a second read ordinance, they should be made during the public hearing for that ordinance. Public hearings are clearly noted on the agenda, as I mentioned before, none of those today. Persons wishing to address council at any time during the meeting, including citizen concerns, should provide first and last name and association with the village, like resident or business owner or former resident. Please try not to repeat previous comments. If something has already been shared, you can note agreement. In the interest of time, you will be asked to move on if a topic has already been covered at length. And council wants to provide a thoughtful and responsive answer to questions which can be difficult in the context of a meeting, so you are unlikely to receive a response during the meeting, nothing personal. And at the conclusion of citizen concerns, if there are clear, concise responses or information to provide immediately, we will do that, and we will identify any follow-up needed for concerns or questions that can be addressed. Okay, so now it's open, citizen concerns. Yep.
Hello, my name's, is this on? Okay, I'm sorry. My name's Mitzi Miller. I'm a resident of Village Springs. I want to take this opportunity to thank our council for adding parking as a goal. It was clear during the McKee Association's town hall meeting with our villagers, parking was a major concern they'd like to see addressed. While parking needs, handicap parking, crosswalk locations, signage, and painting, pedestrian accessibility and our street infrastructure needs to be a higher priority for the village. I commend our council, staff, and village manager for taking action, listening to our community members, our school district, and businesses, and taking the steps to improve these situations. Safety, accessibility, independence, and economic participation for all residents and our visitors need to be integrated into the core of our community planning, building environments and public policies to create a truly inclusive and welcoming community. I look forward to presenting my findings with input from Teresa Mayer and Barbara Mann, and my research and resources and standards on handicap parking in hopes you'll improve the current handicap parking situation in our community and village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Curlis, village resident. I'm going to read to you a memo I wrote to the Environmental Commission 18 months ago. Excuse me. I'm writing to give you information about land known as Glass Farm. Glass Farm, the word farm is a misnomer. The land called Glass Farm is a historic wetland. In 2021, 3 wetland scientists provided this information to the Environmental Commission, including Brian Gare of the Nature Conservancy. It's not just me saying it. Based on the proof of historic wetlands on this property, I worked very hard when on council at that time to obtain proposals for a wetland delineation study. A wetland delineation study would tell you where the wetlands are and where they're not, and so the land that would be more appropriate upon which to build housing. Why save and restore any part of the land called Glass Farm? Wetlands are globally rare and vanishing. Biodiversity and climate change. By restoring the middle section, which is the piece that is a historic wetland, you could restore that wetland function and a diversity of species would come back. YS is on a known sandhill crane flyway, and one can imagine that the cranes would return if the wetland were restored, as well as many other species that are in danger, such as frogs and amphibians. Funding is more available than ever to restore wetlands, including H2 Ohio, which didn't exist when I wrote this memo. So what I propose is a win-win. We restore the wetlands, we get H2 Ohio money for doing so, and then we use that money to build affordable housing where there is already electric infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, water infrastructure, and street infrastructure. It is not a good expenditure of village money to put in infrastructure and green space when we have plenty of land with these services already. In 2021, the wetland delineation study was not funded, which is too bad. By now, council would have known what could be restored to a functioning wetland. I encourage this commission and council once again to pay for a wetland delineation study before doing anything from a qualified scientific firm, not a developer, and to do so forthwith so that we have the information about what could be restored. And history might repeat itself. While the voices of environmentalist villagers have been silent, there are still many who want to do the right thing for the environment and the world. And Lauren Heaton wrote a piece in the Yellow Springs News that I think you all should read on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other citizen concerns?
Hi, y'all. Happy Monday. Carrie Stogler, village resident. Mine is very low level compared to the rest of the folks here, but the basketball court just behind us here, you know, lots of wind going on. I was playing some b-ball over there the other day, and there's a lot of rocks, and it's a little dangerous. And I came before the meeting and took my little leaf blower and cleaned a bunch of them up, and it ran out of energy, but maybe if we can just take a poke through there every so often. A little bit dangerous for children and adults like myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Yeah.
Good evening. Jacob Schmidt. I'm a resident just outside of the village on East Enon, just barely south of the high school. Actually, part of the reason why we're here, bottom line up front, I'm asking for some help from the council in terms of a letter of support. I sent this in a part of your submission process to Judy very, very late last night, and she very quickly pointed out that this did not make the submission deadline. I've got some supplemental materials here, but in short, we're worried about the safety just south of the high school, specifically on East Enon Road. We've been working with the Active Transportation Council to look at transitions into the village as well as just part of the village. And because this is formally a county road, we are working formally back and forth with the county to figure out what is possible. And so right now we're at a step with the county, largely thanks to Johnny helping us doing some active speed monitoring to just figure out what is a solution look like. We're just trying to get the county to study this and before they start figuring out what does a solution look like, whether it's broadened shoulders, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's just flashing speed signs, et cetera. So we're not quite to the solution standpoint. However, when we engage the county points out that every resident that wants a stop sign or a speed limit increase or whatever, there's a resident that wants exactly the opposite. And so what we're trying to do is get a consolidated front from not only all the residents that live there, but also all the combined municipality, jurisdictions, including the village. So we've got a letter of support from the township trustees. We've asked for a letter of support from the school superintendent. We're asking for village council to be considered, just so we can go back to the county to say that we're all kind of on the same page. The big question that I would ask you to consider is the why now side of it. Again, this is outside formally of village jurisdiction, but with expansion to high school, safe routes to school application not yet submitted. My suggestion is we work through a county ecosystem to use county resources to do the study, and then you all can riff off of this immediately after and figure out what you want the scope to be, how the village would like to interact, et cetera. Again, we're just one resident that sits within the county confines, and so we're asking for a little bit of help from the village. Again, I've documented this back to Judy. I submitted much too late last night. My weekend got away from me. I've got supplemental materials here. If I can drop that off with you all, it says exactly the same thing. And also notes some of the visual aids that kind of talk about where we're looking at it. Again, had very productive conversation with Johnny. Again, very much appreciated. Had very productive conversations with Councilwoman Pierce at the Active Transportation Council. So just kind of trying to formally bring it up to you all's attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Strong, resident. I just want to say, in regards to the glass farm situation, is that in case anyone isn't aware, that water flows into a creek, which is actually started by a spring, but it meets itself there, flows behind my neighborhood, and through the cow farm and across the way and into the pond and then down the creek behind John Bryan Community, right here,
Yellow Springs Creek.
right down here, into the Glen, and then ultimately into the Little Miami River, which is a preserved waterway already. I just want to add that awareness into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam Eckenrode, past and present resident and business owner. And I wanted to say that in the many decades I've lived here, whenever factionalization and polarization and siloing happen, you know, xenophobia can creep in anywhere, even in our wonderful liberal small town here. And whenever it happens in Yellow Springs, I recall this childhood favorite that I think I first heard at the Unitarian Fellowship down the road in Goes. It's excerpted for copyright reasons from a Dr. Seuss short story called The Sneetches. It's available at the library and local bookstores. Now, the star-bellied Sneetches had bellies with stars. The plain-bellied Sneetches had none upon theirs. These stars weren't so big. They were really so small. You might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. But because they had stars, all the star-bellied Sneetches would brag, we're the best kind of Sneetch on the beaches. With their snoots in the air, they would sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with the plain-belly sort. And when they had Frankfurter roasts or picnics or parties or marshmallow toasts, they never invited the plain-belly Sneetches. They left them out cold in the dark on the beaches. Then one day, it seems, while the plain-bellied Sneetches were moping and doping along on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped in the strangest of cars. My friends, he announced in a voice keen and shrill, my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean, and I've heard of your troubles. I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappie. I've come here to help you. I have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed. Then quickly, Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine, and he said, you want stars like a star-bellied Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each. Then, of course, from then on, as you can probably guess, things got really into a horrible mess. All the rest of that day on those wild screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up Sneetches. Off again, on again, in again, out again. Through the machines, they raced round and about again, changing their stars every minute or two. They kept paying money, they kept running through until neither the plain nor the starbellies knew whether that one was this or that one was this one or which one was what one or what one was who. Then when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up and he went, and he laughed as he drove in his car up the beach. They never will learn. No, you can't teach a Sneetch. But McBean was quite wrong. I'm quite happy to say that the Sneetches got really quite smart on that day. The day they decided that Sneetches are Sneetches, and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches, that day all the Sneetches forgot about stars and whether they had one or not upon theirs.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Other citizen concerns?
Hi, Ben Miller, resident and friend of several people in here. Mine is less of a concern and more of a question and kind of an opportunity. It's hard not to notice that the current, presidential administration is kind of pursuing isolationism, and I feel like we have got an opportunity with the World Cup coming up to have like a combination welcoming event and possibly feasibility study for Short Street. So we could have like screens set up. The first like week or so of the World Cup, there are games kind of all the time. So this is a great opportunity to have like the village get together, Short Street get closed down, find out, do businesses make more money, lose money? Like, I don't want to be presumptuous, but if we could have like a DORA zone set up, we could really like get some good information with which to know, like, should Short Street be permanently shut down? Should it be a, temporary thing every few months or during the summer months or anything like that? So this is I don't know, an opportunity, and I don't know what the process is for getting things going on Short Street or asking, hey, could something be done for this certain event? So I wanted to bring it up and see what can happen.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yep.
Hello, Judith Hempfling, resident. I've already sent you a letter like 6 weeks ago about sidewalks and the information that would be needed to make a good decision. So I'm just going to go over it publicly, make sure other people kind of are aware of the issue. I asked the Village Council to gather the following information. In the years since Village Council has been responsible for sidewalks, how much has been budgeted yearly, and what is the total? How much was budgeted and how much was actually spent? How many feet of sidewalk and residential sidewalk have been repaired, replaced each year, and where? What kind of repairs were done? What has been the average cost per square foot of repairs and replacement? How long are the repairs holding? How much cost was labor and how much was materials? And how many homes are there in Yellow Springs and how many have sidewalks? Income and property tax is the best practice for funding infrastructure, including sidewalks, because it's a progressive tax. Flat fees, or when every household pays the same irrespective of income or value of one's home, that's a flat tax. And making individual homeowners responsible for sidewalk infrastructure would be regressive, which imposes a higher percentage burden, especially on lower income individuals. When I looked up, so if you have a 60-foot, if you're not on a corner, so you don't have two sides to your house of sidewalks, generally it's at least 60 foot across and it's 3 foot wide, and that's 180 square foot. So when you look at what's the cost per square foot, when you start to look, just Google, what's the general cost of repairs or replacement? You can see pretty quickly where it can be hundreds to thousands of dollars with replacement, not that necessarily they need to be replaced. So anyway, as you know, I'm advocating that it remain as a progressive tax approach, that it remain the responsibility of the village, since everybody benefits. It's not just those individual homeowners who benefit. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Other citizen concerns?
Hello. Heather Stewart. I'm a resident and business owner. I came with just a question, and that is I'm trying to understand the village's position on food trucks in the village. Myself or my team have called the village numerous times trying to inquire on doing a food truck rally, and we get shut down every time. We've inquired for different locations. Right inside, we've asked for Short Street, we've asked for Gaunt Park, and we get shut down every time. So I'm trying to understand what the position is on why everybody is so against food truck rallies. What I seem to get an overall consensus is that it would be in direct competition with the local restaurants in town. I don't understand why a brick and mortar business would take precedence over my business, per se, why they would get better treatment than me on doing something, and just because they have a brick and mortar. And we do it in the city of Xenia. We also do it in the village of Enon. It is great for the locals. They love it. Xenia, we do every Friday. Enon is on Wednesdays. Does it bring tourism in? Because these food trucks have followings, of course, which is great for retail businesses and other things in town because it generates traffic. We see that with local businesses in Xenia, that people walk into town just to shop the retail while they're eating, or they go to Devil Winds for a beer. Enon is the same. People drive up on their golf carts. So it's intended for the locals to have something to do, but it really helps generate money for the local businesses in town as well. So I don't know who can answer that or why the stance is so against food trucks, but yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.
Did you write your name and email down?
I did not.
Can you
Would
do
you
that
like
for
me
me,
to?
please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizen concerns? Okay. I think I've got a couple little like follow-up things. So just as a note, we will be talking about economic development role, and then one of the other goals is to then flow into talking about some of the like pop-ups and food trucks and things that have come up a little bit later in the year. I can't remember exactly when we talked about that, but it was sometime, I want to say like summer, early fall.
We got it.
So just know there's some more discussion about that coming. I think the bar has been raised with Dr. Seuss. I feel like first and best Dr. Seuss reading. And then there was a question about street closures. I think in general the answer is check in with village staff if you have events that you want to do that would require street closures. So I think start with calling the village manager's office. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. And then I'll just, on the active transportation question, it feels like that would be an awesome thing to just get back. Like if y'all have so in one of the commission reports to give, recommendation back to council. So that'd be great.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to keep us moving, if that's okay. The next thing up is public hearings and legislation. Do we need to do the read by? Okay, so Judy, if you don't mind reading Resolution 2026-16, please, by title only.
This is approving a one-year extension to the Windsor Group LLC for the preliminary development plan. I'm sorry, for the final development plan. Is that correct, Amy? It's the one-year extension for the final development plan. Thank you, changing that. For the final development plan for a proposed PUD for 275 East North College Street.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Get out of there.
Second.
There we go. All right, so this one, is there someone on staff that's the point person for this?
Sure. So
Okay.
under the Village's zoning code, when a preliminary plan is approved for a PUD, a plan unit development, the applicant then has 12 months following approval of the preliminary to submit their final plan. The code allows for one request of a 12-month extension that council can consider and approve for an applicant to give them that additional 12 months for the submittal of the final plan.
Okay, and so then, do we hear from the applicant? Is that like a part of the process, or should we start with just input or questions from council?
I think it would probably be useful to hear from the applicant as to why they are making that request.
Okay, thank you. Go for it.
Thank you all, and thanks for the time this evening in considering our request for an extension to submit our final development plan. Let me begin by saying our intention is not to delay our submission any longer than is absolutely necessary. We continue to work to finalize our comprehensive development plan with as much speed as practical. Having said that, the final development plan involves coordination among many third parties, including our architect, engineers, several different consultants and designers. We continue to refine our plans with these groups. The process is time-consuming, but our focus remains on delivering a final development plan that thoughtfully addresses the points discussed to date on these projects. In light of this, we are requesting an extension early and in full transparency so as not to wait until the last minute to come before this council. We also want to provide staff with ample time to review and comment once we do submit that draft, which is part of the reason for the request for the extension. Once again, we don't intend to use the entire period of the extension or any more than is necessary. However, we don't want to wait until the last minute to make the request known to you all. So that's hopefully a little bit more context. Again, we don't envision delaying this any longer than necessary. It just has involved a lot of coordination, some of which had to wait until after the CRA and tax abatement approval, as you'll recall, only occurred at the end of last year. So there were certain parts of our plan that we could only invest in progressing forward basically at the start of this year. Appreciate the consideration.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any questions or comments from council members?
Yeah, definitely. In the sense of, let's just, generally speaking, so this is very common. I want to acknowledge the extension request from developers, so it's not anything that I would say is alarming by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think, given the focal point of this development, that it is the largest single development that we've seen in quite some time, that I think this is our opportunity to ask some somewhat direct questions as to the reasons why, right? Especially given the current market conditions for developers, which we understand, and for everyone else. Like, is this, you mentioned like financing, right? I know, just hypothetically speaking. Are we looking at this from a simply this is part of our process, or is there an issue with financing or construction costs and feasibility, design, anything like that?
No,
Okay.
no. Just to be clear, I think when I mentioned financing, it was basically just what we have sort of discussed in this room as it pertains to the tax abatement for a long time. There were areas we needed to hold off on making significant upfront investments until we understood how that was going to look. So that's the piece when I talk about financing. In fact, I would say the conditions are meaningfully different from when we were, having this conversation originally. So I wouldn't say there's a dynamic that has changed. It's just responding to the timeline.
Perfect. I think the reason that this is such this project has caught so much attention also is the fact that it's a former Antioch building that had life, had soul, had people, right? And so it's sat dilapidated for, I'll make it up, a couple decades, a decade and a half maybe. And it was acquired by you all approximately 2 years ago, we'll say. And so the idea of an extension to August 6th, even though we know it's common practice, I think you coming here in good faith is like the first step of acknowledging like this is just how it is, because now we're looking at August of 2027 as development time. So now it's a third year. And I think what everybody's really excited about is the actual development, right? That's not for you to answer. This is just I'm just preaching on this one. Outside of that, I don't know where we really, any other questions? The extension of both properties, I guess the next one is, we haven't heard much about Kettering.
Mm-hmm.
How is the Kettering development related to the student union development in terms of timing, right? Because is the plan to have those two be concurrently built at the same time? Because I think what we're all trying to do is wrap our heads around, like, what's a 5-year vision of Yellow Springs look like? And so is it, number one is union, number two is this. So if you could help.
Sure.
That
Well, I'd like to respond. I think you ask a lot of great questions. So the one thing I want to respond to is our intention is not to make use of the entire year. We'll continue to accelerate, and our goal is to get shovels in the ground as soon as practicable. What we don't want to do is cause a lot of stress to staff, to this council, to ourselves in waiting till the last moment and then having a oh no moment when we're rushing to come before you and explain why we need an extension. We'd rather do it now, be thoughtful about it. Hopefully we do not need to use much of it, and we'll be back in front of you in short order. That's our plan. In terms of the development plan for both of them, we will be working on them concurrently. Candidly, with historic buildings, you don't always know what timelines are going to be. So, there could be an eventuality where it's quicker to rehabilitate or preserve the Kettering building, but sometimes you just don't know what's behind walls. So, having said that, we will be working on them simultaneously with the hope to deliver them in an 18-month approximate construction timeline.
Okay, 18, that's the approximate timeline?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything from the village side that we can do in terms of support, expedite, is there, I'm just trying to make sure that all of our, that we're covered.
Sure.
Right? And making sure that this isn't, I think we're just excited about the possibility of what's to come. And so, you know, frankly, I've fielded questions since this came out, this extension, right? So that's why I'm bringing it up also, is, oh my God, another year simply for the proposal. And it's always, so I want to make sure that we are armed and that we are approaching this thing with clear eyes. And so that's helped immensely. And so, yeah, I think, you know, I hope that we don't intend to use that full year.
It's not our intention. No.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. I guess I'll start. Any other questions for Eric while he's up here?
I mean, I don't feel like you've explained why. I think you've just told us there's a why, that you were waiting for that tax abatement thumbs up, but that's it. Yeah.
Well, so in the timeline, in the sequence of events, when we did get the thumbs up on that part, we were able to turn on some of the consulting work and incur that development expense that we weren't able to do prior. So essentially, that was the clock starting. We were able to work with our architect on some of the more comprehensive development plans that we will be submitting as part of our final development plan that went with some of the engineers we were working with, as well as the consultants and designers. So that's the why. We're kind of herding cats, so to speak, with multiple different parties, and we're soliciting comments from engineers that go to our architect, and then our designer submits comments to architect, revised plans come through. So it's just a long process in working with all of those groups.
So a yes or no on the tax abatement, like change the amount of cats or breed of cats that you're herding?
No, not the amount. It just, as we have sort of, some of you may recall the discussions we had, without the tax abatement, the project wouldn't have been financeable in our view. So there were certain project costs, if you will, that we had to hold off on until there was clarity around that piece. Once there was clarity there, we were able to move forward on those things that we had to hold off on up until that point.
Other questions for Eric? Okay, I think we're done for now. Any questions or comments, including staff as well, in addition on this item?
Do we ever give extensions that are less than 1 year? Is that an option?
I don't know that I've ever seen that done.
Generally, whatever is requested is what is given, because we would presume they would know what they needed.
I think one of the issues or things while reviewing this particular one was, I think this goes back to because this was all pre-election for the three of us, is that the momentum, and this is all just aesthetic, that has nothing to do with Windsor directly, but it appeared that the project was so full steam ahead, right? It was passed with emergency ordinances, and it was like, this is happening ASAP. This might be right hand, left hand, might not be even in the same category. But I'm just saying from a standpoint of narrative and community, does this, that was kind of the cause for pause, right? I think he explained it very well. I think we understand it now. But I think that's kind of the here we go again nature sometimes of asking for extensions, is that community kind of discussion. How do we make sure that we're getting the right information out there, this transparency? Because it seemed like it was such a rush. And rush sounds harsh, but it seemed like we have to do this right now in an emergency session, kind of session. That now we'll get to it when we get to it. And this is just a statement. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is just the feeling that I have internally. And so, like I said, we're looking forward to it. And I just wanted to make sure that I got that part out.
I would say that actually I'm kind of glad that they're asking for an extension for staff's part of it, because with Meg leaving in November, We are just now getting it ready to do the second round of interviews for the new zoning person. So if they'd have dropped this on us in January, we'd have had to have the consultant that has been working for us try to get up to speed with the whole process. So this is a common practice. This was done for Springs Meadow. This was done for Cascades. This was done for Glen Cottages. So this is a normal process. It's not that they're trying to delay tactics.
Oh, yeah, and I think when I started this, it was, to be clear, this is very common, and I understand that. I think from making sure that the message doesn't get lost, because we know how the game of telephone goes in the village. And like I said, we're on year 2, and then we get into year 3 of development, and how do we, it's just, we got to do a little bit better.
I want to, really quickly, there's a thing called Parkinson's Law. And basically, if, the principle suggests that if you allot 2 weeks for a 2-hour task, the task will mentally and practically swell to that 2 weeks. Thankfully, developers don't operate that way. It's like when we put off doing dishes, it'll take 15 minutes. I gotta get them done by 5. A lot of us are in the kitchen at 4:50. So, I understand what you're saying, and it does feel like it's moving at a snail's pace. But it was very explained very well that it was kind of a domino. Until we have this, we don't even know what to tell the cats to do. And that's the piece with the CRA and the TIF stuff. So I don't think that Windsor operates on Parkinson's Law. And you stated twice that you don't foresee using that entire 12 months.
So I didn't really anticipate too much discussion about this. I don't have a lot. I thought my understanding was it's a pretty standard thing. And the only thing I'd ask is just if y'all have updates along the way, you can put them in the packet. You don't even have to come necessarily, but just anything. I think the dynamics are real, and if you can communicate about what's going on with the project, that would be awesome. Anybody else with any comments? Okay. I guess we'll call the roll, I think.
If you
Yeah.
would like to.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Okay.
Brown.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Samari.
Yes.
Pierce.
No.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the next one is, I am assuming mostly cut and paste, but let's do, Judy, if you could read Resolution 2026-17 by title only, please.
This is approving a 1-year extension to the Windsor Group LLC for the final development plan for a proposed PUD for 150 East South College Street.
Excuse me, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great. So is it, I guess, Eric, if you don't mind just confirming, that's, everything you just said is true for this too?
Confirm.
Thank you. Does anyone have any different comments related to the Kettering project that they'd like to make?
YSO just got out of there. So that's the other thing.
True. WYSO is now?
Days ago.
Yeah. The big handoff has happened. Okay. I guess we'll do another roll call, if that's okay, for 2026-17, Judy.
All right. Samari.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Pierce.
No.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Resolution 2026-18. Judy, if you could read that by title only, please.
Yes. This is authorizing the village manager, geez Louise, I'm so sorry, to enter into an agreement for the sale of village-owned renewable energy credits and the purchase of green E-certified RECs. Sorry, I will fix that.
I'm going back in time.
Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and Johnny, I think
All
this
right.
is you.
Yes, I have a memo there in front of you. This is something that we started, I think this is the third time. This money is for the green E-Recs. We're able to sell our regular Recs, buy a generic version of them to be able to capitalize on some money to be able to put towards our capital improvements for the utilities. And this is a time sensitive, it's changed since the last time I brought it up, but this is for selling the RECs of 23, 24, and 25. And then we purchase everything that we bought on the market, which is like 7% of the power that we bought is a fluctuation. We purchased enough green E-RECs to cover the power that we purchased off the market. So.
Cool, thank you. Questions from council? I got a couple, I think, relatively quick ones, so I'll start. So is the market going up or down? I guess it's going down.
It's down going right now.
So why?
I can't answer that.
Man, these things are totally wild. No, I just, you would think that with, like, you know,
Johnny, how could
oil-based
you not
energy
know the
getting
answer to that
harder to
question?
get,
Right.
wouldn't you want, I don't, anyway. It's just
I
like-
can tell you with the last administration, the prices were going up. With this administration, the prices are going down.
Huh, interesting, okay. And then in the memo, basically, we had talked about that like 85-15 split, right? So I just want to be clear that it was a little bit clunky, but it's like, because how do you define what's 85% for electric infrastructure? Because in the memo, it simplifies it, it's basically saying it's for electric capital use. But if you look at the resolution, it's like 85% is for electric, I can't remember what the exact words are, but it's for the electric infrastructure, and then 15% was for renewable investments, and it was sort of like the idea is that when these dollars come in, how do you kind of use most of them for the infrastructure, and then a little bit for these other areas that invest in our renewable capacity. We don't have some exact litmus test of here's which each dollar was for, but I just want to make sure everybody kind of is up to date. That's all accurate, right?
Correct, it is. The 15% is used for technology and trying to reduce the carbon footprint, which if you remember the last time, we was able to have the meters, which required less vehicle traffic. So they're able to read the meters in-house. This year will be the same thing. It will be put back into a technology where it would help reduce carbon footprint.
Thank you. Other questions?
Do we have what timeline are we on for that 400?
If I can get it to him tomorrow, it's locked in. If not, then it dropped 26,000 from when I told you I wanted to bring it to council, which was, they just got me the price. I got the updated version on Friday and it had dropped already.
So does that happen pretty much instantly? Could you lock your price in and then the transfer into the
Correct.
fund? Okay, perfect. But we don't know yet what project.
That's the reason why we said estimate.
Earmarked.
It says estimate.
Yeah, that part I get. What the dollars are earmarked for yet.
It is going for the center circuit to complete it for the center circuit.
Okay.
So it's already kind of spoken for in a way. So there's not a way to increase, if we're doing 15%, there's no way to increase that?
Correct.
No?
The center circuit was to try to bring more stability to the grid and to be able to have a center circuit. And we bought all the reclosers and all the metering devices with good faith that this was coming in 25.
Gotcha, okay.
And was 2020 the first year that the village and council voted on it and started the program?
Correct. It was the first time we was able to do it. The rest of when I got here in 14, they was retiring them. It was on another path, and then in 2020, we revisited. Some of them was retired as soon as they bought into so if you retire it, you can't use it. It's just on your portfolio. But in 2020, we was able to see the benefit that it was able to do us, because this is also another way to where we don't have to keep raising rates to do the capital improvements.
I always think about this fondly because it was my first meeting, and I specifically said, "Are there any complex things?" And then it was a 2-2 vote. I was supposed to split.
Oh.
And it was and this is an interesting sort of complex set of things, markets around renewable credit, and then we're selling things with a better, renewable. Whatever.
And some ethical stuff that
There's
comes in there
ethical,
too.
so you're selling the better one, and then you're
Yeah,
buying
like-
the worse one, so that we can say we're 100%,
So that somebody else can-
renewable. But anyway, it's a little murky.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
especially for new people, I just want you to know that it is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will
the-
definitely say from my understanding of this topic, which is relatively elementary, right? There are people who are experts on this. It is complex and it is nuanced, and not all credits are created equal and function equally, and that we should have a critical eye towards claims of 100% renewable and what that means, and that greenwashing is very much, playing amidst these topics. So I think it's not, I think it's, to me, there are real questions there. At the same time, I understand that there is a number of value associated with what we're able to produce here, so what we're able to sell, and I understand that there's different ways that you look at the purchase of that as part of the cycle and the dynamic of how this whole system works. I think part of it for me was feeling like I wish there were more institutions, groups, individuals we could go to for advice on a topic like this, besides the default of, well, this is the way we've been doing it, so let's continue forward. I understand that a lot of people have put a lot of time and energy, and we were able to look at the minutes and also interactions, conversations from 2020. But I can't say that I feel very confident personally about having a clear stance on this.
What would be useful for you?
I would say, my understanding is that the credits are different, and where they're, and the source of where they come from, and where the purchasing of credits, where those credits are being produced, the location and type, I feel like I'm struggling because I don't even know the terminology, but the production of those affects also the intention of it, of a system that is inherently problematic and flawed. And so, I think a real acknowledgement for me of, we're working within a system that's really problematic. We're trying to do our best with our capacity. But
Sounds like a thing that should go on the EC agenda, and that's what I'm doing right now.
yeah, I definitely had that.
It'd be fun,
That thought.
community rec discussion.
Yeah, I remember when I looked into this some years ago, I know in Oberlin, they had a position about it. They had and I think that's kind of for me, what would be great is, especially because the councils do change, and having some here is how we have processed the complexity and the way we've arrived at this, so that we can easily kind of come back to that and say, hey, here's our logic. And I don't know, I guess next meeting, we're going to do council commission priority stuff. I think that's great, Carmen. That'd be a great kind of thing to put on the EC agenda.
Oh, so my other question for Johnny is that this is for the previous years. So
Correct.
We're talking about 23, 24, 25.
Correct.
Does that mean we would only be talking about 26, 27, 28, and 2029?
Correct.
Is there a way we can have a goal to increase that 15%, trying to balance out the ethics part for myself, is that if we're only putting 15% back into, green energy, so to speak,
Yeah,
is there a way to do
understand what
more?
you're saying.
Yeah.
15% was a number that was thrown out, but I can tell you that everything that we do now is above and beyond the 15%. We're taking the contaminated oils out of the system, we're taking the old technology out of the system. But absolutely, the next time that this would be seen is, you're right, it would be 29.
But will you already have plans for it by then, or?
Not by
Yeah.
29.
Right, okay.
I mean, we'll have plans, but it won't.
Be spoken for like it is now? Okay.
And another question I had is, it just said that the purchase is required for us to maintain the designation as a green municipality. Theoretically, what would be the loss of that, what would the loss of that designation mean on a practical level?
It would not, for us personally.
Yeah.
Just probably we're not green no more, but for other companies in the village, like Cresco and Xylem and all that, they get credits on their system because we are considered 100% renewable. So even the schools can check a box that they're 100% renewable, and that goes towards their lead marks that they're doing, certifications.
That's interesting.
As being part of this green municipality?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
This was your first meeting, Gavin.
You see what I mean? It's interesting. It's complicated.
And so this line that says that if we didn't authorize the purchase, we would lose the designation, is that?
We would lose it for those 3 years, right there.
Okay. Because we would not be reaching our 100%
Correct, because we still have
renewable
7%, we have still 7% that is on the market.
Okay. So I think where I landed before, and I think where I'm kind of still landing now, is like, this is messy, and I wish it was cleaner, and I wish it was, I don't know.
You
like
said
more
cleaner,
straight-
we're talking about green energy.
Okay, something else other than the word cleaner, but you know what I mean. So I'm kind of in I think we do this, and then I think what I'd like to do ideally is kick these things where it's like, how do we, so this idea of the 15% was already accounted for. Well, how do we create a process where it's like, hey, it's not accounted for, so that there's clarity of what the dollars can be used for? What were the other ones that just came up? The dynamic of how significant is it if the designation is not available to local businesses? I guess, is it that if they didn't have that checkbox for LEED certification, is that a real problem? Or I'd just like to know more about that. It seems like it would require some more looking.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm basically saying I'd like to spend a little more time looking into this, but I'm generally, I think I'm hearing kind of like a begrudging okay, and that's where I've landed before, and that's kind of where I am now. But is there anything else anybody wants to throw in before we would vote on it? Okay. I think that means no.
Is that a category of begrudging?
Begrudging, yeah. That would be great. We could have a yes, no, or begrudging yes, or begrudging no.
Isn't that an abstention?
Or an abstention. Yeah, I guess you could abstain. What's that?
But you wouldn't really have any reason to
Yeah.
abstain unless it was your first meeting and you didn't know things yet.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying you can't, can you abstain if you don't know? No, I'm just, it's a structural
I mean,
question.
Gavin,
Gavin.
we've been doing this for like a couple years.
No, then let me clarify. I would like, Judy, can you please clarify when an abstention is appropriate? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes. So there is voting, yes and no. There is recusal when you have a conflict and you step down off of the dais. Abstention is in between a nothingness under the law when you're analyzing the way a vote happens in front of a board, right? Because it is, with the exception of approving meeting minutes that you were not at the meeting, in attendance at the meeting, which the meeting minutes are describing, that's the appropriate time for an abstention. With the exception of that, if you feel as though you don't have enough information in front of you to make the decision, that would be the only other time I could see a council member utilizing an abstention. Did that help at all?
Yeah, very much. So I think just to make a final comment before we vote then, I think what I'm noting is just like for Environmental Commission, these topics are going to continue to develop, right? The next 4 years, there's going to be development that we can't even foresee, but I think imagining 4 years down the line, it could be helpful for council to have. Wait, can I finish this sentence?
Yeah, say sorry.
That it can be helpful for council on a topic like this to have, just like more information that has been considered by, experts or people with more knowledge in these fields that sit on the appropriate commission or group.
Absolutely, and this is why the focus of EC has changed, and we're going for more education as opposed to pet projects. And this is something that, this particular topic, I've had to do a lot of research on my own. And I want to take that and compile it and give it so the public can have it, and also council can have it. And I've just emailed Joanna to get it on the agenda.
Okay, I think we're gonna do a roll call on this one too. We're kind of roll call happy tonight.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Pierce.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Shu. Yes. Samari.
Yes.
DeBoer Leonard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to just make a note that we're notably behind time, which is mostly a function of the fact that all of those topics were not on future agenda, and because of the longer lapse between meetings, things came up. So just noting for all of us that if we get things on future agenda, then we can get a sense of how complex topics are, and then we'll get our times right, and then everyone will know when we're here and why we're here and how long we'll be here. Okay. There are no special reports, so we're going to move on to the not manager's report version of the manager's report.
The only thing that I have is I will not be here next council. It will be Elise, and she will give the manager's report. I will be in Texas.
Cool. But this is the moment where if you have manager's report style questions, you could do them now. Right?
Correct.
That's why it's still on there, right? Okay. Okay, I'm going to take that as we're good and that people are now excited about making up time. Excellent. The next thing is old business, of which there is none. So now we will move to new business, where we will start with a discussion about topics for coming meetings. So hopefully everybody saw, and this is me, so I'm just going to launch into it. Hopefully everybody saw the memo and it was in line with what we had been talking about. So what the process for this is, I'm going to go through, we're going to start with parking, then we're going to do economic development, then we're going to do sidewalks, and we're just going to open up the, what would it be helpful for you to know in the run-up to this conversation. We had initially talking about parking and economic development at the next meeting in April, and then talking about sidewalks in May. As we go through, I want to just acknowledge that since we did that, Johnny's going to be out of town, so we have a flag of we might need to move something. So before we end here, we're going to do the let's check in about when will we actually talk about it, especially so that community members know what we're thinking about doing. Okay? So the first topic is parking. I'm not going to read all the stuff that was already in the memo, assuming everybody knows why we're talking about parking. And then this would just be the moment of what information are you hoping would be provided by staff or potentially by others in the run-up to the discussion around parking? Okay, I will kick it off. So I'm really interested in thinking about, so the parking came up in the context of the Short Street discussion. But I'm not looking at it through the lens of the Short Street. I'm trying to figure out, do we need more parking? And if so, how did we decide upon that? And then, because then I'm trying to wrap my head around, how much of a priority is it? So I know in the Short Street presentation there were dollar amounts that were, excuse me, put toward it. And so then I'm trying to think about, well, is that how I would want to use those chunks of dollars? And this would be obviously potentially a precursor for budget conversations, but just taking it out of the Short Street context, hey, how are we feeling about parking? It's one of these things where I heard almost nothing about it for the 2 years until Short Street, and then between the Short Street and then the changes with the school, it became like everybody's talking about it, and so I'm just interested in, hey, what's the thinking around this? And then specifically interested in how you think about more parking as it pertains to walkability and density, which I know in the past we've had conversations that sort of assume we want less cars, and so then are we wittingly or unwittingly supporting more cars by putting more parking in? And these are legitimately just questions that I'm hoping that we can kick around a little bit and get input on. So those are mine. Other questions folks were hoping to get to on parking?
I think something that's come up to me in the community as people see that we're talking about parking is talking about, residential parking versus what's the word?
Commercial
Yeah,
downtown,
thank you.
yeah.
Like commercial downtown parking. And then I think it would just be helpful to have some notes from staff delineating those different needs or how you approach that or think about that. So that would be both like talking about areas, either residential or commercial, and talking about, like times of, the weekdays versus the weekends.
So just to clarify, we're only talking about parking on village-owned property, right? Or so that's what we're talking about, is parking on village-owned property? Okay.
Well, with the assumption that village-owned property includes all the roads.
The road right.
Right, so the Walnut Street parking, I don't think would, so yeah, anywhere where there's parking now or where we own things seems like it's in the purview.
Residential. That would just be village-owned property, so is residential a part of this discussion?
I just meant, I think when people have talked to me about parking thoughts and needs, that it just all gets lumped together.
Oh,
Sometimes the
okay.
discussion of it. So
Okay.
when useful or appropriate, if we can clarify, I guess, talking about who needs parking and for what and when.
This seems very much like something that's recurring conversation over and over. I'm sure staff has looked into this immensely. So I think this kind of falls back to what you used to say, like staff versus council, and where they, the job that it lies in, which segment. But my concern in this is the accessibility, just as someone who is in the village. That seems to be constantly coming up, is this accessibility issue for our less mobile community members. And it seems to be louder. Maybe it's because I'm on council now. That's the key component that I would like to see addressed, because we have to do more for our most vulnerable, as you know.
Correct.
My only question, like if we're looking at these, all these plans that are here specifically, is just how the school feels, turning that square into a parking lot all around the school. I have my own opinions about it, but really just, do we care what their input is, Or, that's not a nice way to say that, but, do we consider, and work with them on that, in that particular thing, if that were to ever be a thing. I think that, to me, that's a place where I would start. That's really my only.
Yeah, and I want to broaden that out,
Yeah.
build on that, just general stakeholder input.
Yeah.
So just if there are, stakeholders, so like, Nick is here from the Glen, I'm assuming you're sitting here because of the Corey Street parking. I don't know for sure, but that would be like if there are entities that are clearly going to be stakeholders, I know that in the past, I've never heard the specifics of it, but I know that in the past around the school property, there were people who weighed in. So even if it's like a stakeholder review or a like past discourse update or something, that would be helpful. I think we kind of went down the line. Anything else on parking? And I'm just going to do then a follow-up. Are there any questions that you have about our questions or anything that you need more clarity on as you're pulling stuff together?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just jump in on these other ones if that's the case. Okay, so next up is economic development. Anybody want to kick us off?
I mean, there was a lot of information in this. There was a lot of historical data.
In this packet, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, right, unless I'm,
No.
yeah. And long story short, I think all what we gathered in this was what we said in the weeks prior, was that we need to do a deep dive on all of our stakeholders and partners in the economic development field, from the YSDCs to the Chamber of Commerce's, to the other state-owned agencies, and see without question where all of our responsibilities lie. I've started that. I think I told them that 3 weeks ago. We already had our first meeting with Michael Slaughter, president of YSDC, and we'll continue to have these conversations. I think what was glaring to me when going through this was kind of the red flag that there was no plan on file with YSDC.
What, parking plan? What do you mean? Oh, no,
No, we're on
economic, sorry, yeah,
development
sorry.
plan. So for the 300 CICs or in Ohio, whatever, it seems like that's a very standard, if not mandated, portion, and that it seems like we maybe have been operating on a handshake agreement on what, I don't want to, that sounds a little bit doom and gloom, but handshake agreement in terms of what the roles and responsibilities are. And that's not to say it can't be fixed. I think it actually creates a very good opportunity for us to define economic development in the village. So that's what I took from this, is it gives us the opportunity with staff, with council, and with stakeholders to actually clearly define what we were just talking about 2 months ago, right? So.
Maybe I'll build off that, because I guess what I'm sort of hoping for is like a chart, and if these aren't exactly the right things, but the things I wrote down were sort of key players, and then it's like I want to know, and I'm not to pick on anybody, but like the Chamber of Commerce, then what are their major activities? What is their role or purpose, like as documented? Like what do they have on paper? And then what is their role or purpose in practice? Like what do we know? Oh, that's a thing we expect from them, or that's a thing that they do really well. For kind of the entities that come up the most. I don't need a chart that includes every single entity that's ever worked on economic development, but just the ones that we end up talking about pretty regularly or have some expectations. And then after seeing sort of that chart that's got here's what people do and here's what works in practice, I'm interested in, are there any notable sort of gaps or opportunities? I think we got involved more in economic development under some, assumptions and some expectations, and maybe they've changed, maybe they haven't. I don't know, but I'd like to hear like, hey, here's the role we see for the village, and so I'm hoping the staff can kind of start with like, hey, here's what we're seeing, and then that together we can talk about it some more to figure out what role feels appropriate.
Really quickly, so you say, here's the role we see for the village. Are you saying, here's the role we, the stakeholders, see for the village? So the stakeholders are saying what the village government is responsible for?
I was imagining, I think that's a great angle too. When I was just talking about it, I was sort of assuming we start in-house of like, what do we think our role is? But getting stakeholder, and that, I think.
Well, so we're looking at other entities or we're looking at, other stakeholders to tell us what our role is? Because you said what they think of our role is. I just need some clarification on that. Does that make sense?
let me say it again, I'm not totally sure I follow you. What I was imagining is that we would start with hey, what do we think the chamber is doing? What do we think the, YSCC is doing? Honestly, those are the two obvious ones.
Yes.
Maybe there's some role related to the, regional planning folks. So start off by saying, all right, what are they doing? And then saying, what do we really want to do? What do we think our role is? And I could totally imagine a step in this process being going out and actively asking those other stakeholders, hey, what do you think we should do?
No, I don't want that, and so that's why I need to clarify. That's why, because I felt like I was like, wait a minute, yeah, I don't want that at all.
Okay.
A feedback, of course.
Yeah. The only other thing that just to finish my list is I would be interested in if there are any policy considerations that are kind of brewing or that have kind of popped up for staff, and that there's space for us to talk about it. So for example, I've heard people talk about, is there some way that we can incentivize storefronts being full? It's just, I'm just completely an idea that has come up, and I'm just wondering, are there any other, we talked about moratoriums before, are there any other sort of economic development, policies? Obviously, one of the interrelated pieces here is to talk about the TIFs and the, tax abatements again. So that's coming down the road, I know, but are there any other sort of tools or, policy considerations that have come up? So that's my list.
No, that's very astute. Actually, that's pretty creative. And there are some ways to do it. I have to see from a municipality perspective. I think the other question is, I know we talked about it before. I would want to be very intentional about making sure that we're not adding a bunch of our goals on to them for this one. So I would like to go ahead and say that I did volunteer for this. So I stirred the pot. I will gladly work with you, Johnny, and staff if there's a key member who wants to. I just wanted to make that known, that I'm not anticipating them giving me a full report, right? I think those things that you talked about, the chart or, finding out, YSDC lies here, Chambers here, Jobs Ohio's here, entity X is here. I don't. Where did you see this part?
I think that's great if you can help. I know that there is definitely a staff role because we kind of consciously walked into being the YSCC director, and then we walked out of it. And so I'm just legitimately just interested in how staff is currently thinking about it. As where are they thinking that we sit? So I think there's sort of concurrent things here. You doing some kind of some of the parts of work here sounds great, and I'm just saying specifically I want to know how is staff currently thinking about this work and this role? Because there's been times where we've talked about it in a much more expansive way. I'm just wondering where we're at currently. Other things? Okay. I'm going to go to sidewalks. While we're just on economic development, I'll just say, so when we get to the timing here in a second, so I think it is entirely possible this is not a 20-minute discussion at the next council meeting and done.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so everybody's sort of, I think we should totally imagine what is the arc of discussion that makes sense to be able to make progress on these things. So that's what we'll get to in a second. Let's go to sidewalks, other things that people, any things that people are hoping to get on sidewalks.
What we spend a year, or average, I guess, not since we've taken them, that would be a much bigger number, but yeah, what do we average spending a year on that?
I would say just any data and numbers related to, I don't know if we have, before the switch was made, the transition of private responsibility versus village responsibility, but any data that we have available.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, looking through obviously, there's a bunch of stuff from the past.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like that's already been gathered on some level, and I feel like on some, if you have a sort of response on the like equity question, I would be interested in what the sort of logic is on that. And then I know we've talked about it in like finance committee before, but if there's anything else you want to share about sort of staff time or, just how does managing sidewalks fit in? Because I feel like I've heard you talk about it in side meetings or whatever, but let's talk about it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Other questions on sidewalks? Okay, so then let's move to talking about the timing. So, Johnny, I think we had, I can't remember, I think it was at agenda planning. So since the last time that we went, I think it was the last time we were here, we went through the goals and we said, here's when we'll talk about the things. Then your trip came up, and so we need to talk about when we talk about these things. So can either parking or economic development conversations start at the next meeting, or are those both like, nope, we got to push those back?
The meeting on the 20th?
Yeah.
I don't know that we can get the documents to you.
Yeah.
For at least to be able to talk to you, and I think it's a gamble if we try to talk about economic development now. Because we have some things that we got to get done prior for the next meeting, so.
Okay.
Maybe we push economic development, and Sanai's shaking his head down there. Do you think it should be the first one in May? Or,
I'm good with moving at your timeline on this because I think this is an ongoing, there is no full stop on this. So I don't want to add more to the table. So if the first one in May is good with you, it's good with me.
We start approaching that date and it needs to be bumped up. Because I know that we're, doing some pretty, going to be doing some pretty significant hiring here soon. So it'd be good to have that person maybe hired. But yeah, I think that whatever timeline staff sees.
So I'm okay with tentatively, long story short.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the second one in May?
First meeting in May.
So is it like tentatively, first meeting in May, talk about, it sounds like economic development. Does it feel like start talking about parking first meeting in May? And is there we had originally talked about the order being parking, economic development, sidewalks. It's, I think, largely arbitrary. So you want to say like economic development, was there a reason economic development would be before parking?
And any of them, I want to clarify, any of them that we talk about, there's not going to be final decisions made because we're going to bring you things and you're going to have more questions. These are really, truly things that we're trying to get in line prior to budget. Economic development, we're just trying to figure it out along with all of you guys. So sidewalks because sidewalks are already locked in for 25 or for 26. But moving forward, what does this council want to see for parking and sidewalks? So as long as we're actively talking about it, we can have parking for the first week in May as well, because there's going to be more things that we go back and we look at other things and bring back to you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm hearing first meeting of May for parking and for economic development. And I think it's great to like start the clock, because it's like we're going to get a bunch of input and then we're going to have to factor that in. So first of May, and then can we do sidewalks then the second one in May?
Which is 18th. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
Does that sound okay, folks? Yeah. And obviously, we'll communicate if something changes, like we just did today. Okay, so for anybody who's wondering out in the public, we'll have the next conversation about the first conversation about parking. First week of May, first week of May, we'll also talk about economic development role, and then the second meeting in May, we'll talk about sidewalks. Okay, I'm gonna go on to the next topic unless anybody has anything else. Okay. Next topic is strategic plan scope of services. This is another one where there is a memo, so I don't feel the need to go over it all. I think this is basically, are there any places where you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I was expecting, is question one. And then question two is, I am assuming that that there is buy-in for the idea of putting a budget allocation towards strategic planning, but that is not the case currently. So this is a little bit of like a temperature check with this group. So maybe we'll start with the first question. Was there anything in this sort of summary where you're like, wait a minute, I was thinking something different, or just anything you want to add that should be considered that I can take into account and then bring back to the next meeting an actual sort of scope? Because this is like about a scope, but not a scope. Okay, should I take silence to mean amazing?
No, we're good, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So then the follow-up question again, I think I'm assuming that since we put on our goals and that there is an expectation that we are going to allocate some funding toward this, which means we're going to have to put money toward it that's new, that's not in the budget right now. And so I just wanted to check, is that a fair assumption? Are folks aware that we're going to have to spend some money and feel okay with that?
You would need to come back as a supplemental.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we can talk about what, like, if you could get some numbers together about how much you're thinking.
Yeah. I think this is one of these like dances where it's like, I think we need to tell people we have money, and that's why I wanted to ask.
Sure.
We want people to do it for as little as possible, and we want to get a full scope of services.
Right.
So I'm going to try to dance around that, and if, honestly, you'll all see the product. If the
Sure.
scope looks like you would read it and go, I wouldn't answer that. That's too, wishy-washy. Well, then we might need to talk about numbers. I'm hoping to figure out a balance there where we can tell people we know we want funding, because I think it's true that if you had people submit an LOI that was like, man, they sound awesome, and it was really expensive, you might be like, well, that sounds like a good reason to spend that much money. On the flip side, if you had not great proposals that were really expensive, that might mean, sorry, we got to start over.
Yeah, or really great ones that are really expensive and then the product isn't.
Yeah.
Anything under the sun.
Right.
It could be anywhere in that range. But okay, so I'm hearing general buy-in interest, feels like these are the right pieces. Now I'm going to do the next step of trying to write it down into an actual thing that we look at. Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, so next up, I think, is future agenda. So let's check in. We just kind of did some of the big chunks of future agenda as we went over the discussion topics. Are there other things we need to flag? So obviously, retreat this coming Thursday, 8:30, bright and early, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be a lunch break / go check out WISO Celebrate from, was it
11:30, be back here at 1.
11:30 to 1? So just know right now, you can step aside, and public know we'll have that break, but definitely honor getting back on time. I just wanted to flag, I was looking over our evaluation stuff, because I need to get the stuff to the solicitor to just do what we've done with clerk and village manager, and just flagging that we should do the clerk and village manager council exec session, kind of like management check-in things on June 1st and September 7th. I think that when we wrote this memo in like September of last year, those dates are actual meeting dates. But anyway, so just so everybody knows, it's not, this was just like a regular check-in time. So there's not, I don't want people thinking there's something other than just checking in a couple times a year. It's great. Any other future agenda things?
Sorry, I'm not on the page. Once we had discussed the number of summer meetings, is that?
Can
you see that? Sorry.
I feel like we should actually just put it on the agenda and decide.
Yeah.
Because we've kicked around maybe having one, but
Yeah.
we should just name it.
Yeah.
So can we just talk about that at the next meeting and make a decision?
Okay, I mean, you will have a whole lot more work
Yeah.
at the meeting after that, as will staff. I mean, it's just a thing.
As will staff. Sorry.
I mean,
don't-
it's,
Okay.
there's work, there's always work. Work doesn't go away. I mean, you can definitely manage the agenda such that that is mitigated to a fairly decent extent, but I mean, it does mean that the meeting after it is going to be a
Oh, yeah,
lot longer.
definitely.
That's just how it works. So, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter. You can figure out if you want to do that, you don't want to do that.
Well, I think it's more than just the conversation. I know it was discussed
Yeah.
for everybody. I don't think it's anybody.
Voiced
who's-
interest, right?
Yeah, it was just a
I think there
collective
might be
interest.
different opinions on this, and
Yeah.
that would be a great thing to discuss.
Yeah, for sure.
at
That
the
was not what I
meeting.
was. Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
One thing that I know we have on our agenda is the township, school, the village meeting. I'm going to start trying to get dates from the school and from the township, so we can try to have that meeting scheduled.
Maybe we could do that instead of a council meeting, and then kill two birds with one stone.
No, we can't
Or
do
not.
that.
Or not. Okay. All right.
I don't think we can even do that, really.
I'm messing with you.
Spitballing. Just spitballing.
Yeah.
Okay. Other things on future agenda. So Judy, obviously you got the shifts on the, the economic development discussion, et cetera. We should flag, this week would be the time to send in your board and commission goals. This was like a thing sent like weeks ago. So that at the meeting on the 20th, we can all be on the same page, and then it'll be an agenda item to specifically say, hey, are there any priorities that you want to be flagged that haven't been? So just friendly reminder on getting that. And Judy, maybe you could just send a reminder so we've all got it. I know it's been on my I'll do that later list, and now the later is coming.
Do we also send our
Very soon.
commission updates as well?
Yes,
Same
and
one.
that's actually a great reminder. In general, we'd love for them to be written,
Yeah.
and so if you can send those in time for the next packet, that would be great. Yeah, so yeah, again, this was this one was a little clunky, because we'd got, everything that was in resolutions was not in future agenda, and you can kind of see how it makes it hard to figure out timing. So just if you know stuff's coming, communicate about it. This, what are there, 2 times a year that it's,
Sometimes three.
sometimes 3, where there's the long delay in between, but, cool. Anything else before we adjourn on future agenda?
Can we briefly, I don't know if we had brought up this event that's happening probably now. Are we allowed to ask who's going to this? Because once you're in Dave's club, you can't see.
text each other.
Well, you can't
Can't
text
leave.
each other, and you also can't see. It's dark.
I
So
think
just so we know,
there's-
can we take a roll to see who's planning on going and who's not planning on going? 'Cause I would hate to be out of.
Is anybody planning on going?
I am
Yeah.
going. I think we have seats being held as well. Like that
Oh,
they're making
for
sure.
council people, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be, I don't think it's a good look at
I
all.
think so that it didn't reach capacity
Okay.
in case we want it to attend.
Okay.
That's just my assumption from the text I just got.
Okay, so we have a problem. So Stephanie, you're planning on going. Sinai?
I was planning on going.
Okay. Carmen?
I will not.
Okay. Angie?
I'm flexible.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I feel like somebody should go, but
If you guys are going,
if you guys are going, I think that's probably good.
This way you can speak.
Do we know, is anybody from staff going?
Or hold our peace.
Majority of some wrong address.
The wrong address? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you get like a special dispensation or
Checking
something?
addresses.
Oh, interesting. Where is the line? Is it within village limits?
45387.
Okay. Oh, 453, okay.
You said you're not going, Johnny?
I am not going.
So you're saying if the two of them are going, I can't go and just be quiet and let them talk if they have to? We don't even know how anybody's going to talk.
I can't imagine that we will talk.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I have, yeah. I'm not.
Okay,
Nobody knows.
I know, for
all right, so let's adjourn before we start back and forth.
Good night. I'm ready to go to sleep.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
So moved.
Great. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
All right.
Yeah, it was-